I'm sick of it. We are really discounting greatness as Steph Curry is playing in the league right now. And I need Steph to go ahead and get this finals MVP. Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run with Manny Wilson podcast. The Manny Wilson podcast. The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. You heard it here first. The best sports podcast there is, all the way from Detroit to Chicago to your speakers and headphones. We got a great episode for you today. Oh my gosh, on June 2nd, 2022. But before we do anything, we got to jump into the callers, man. I'm excited. I'm a little distraught because of this NBA Finals, man. I was having a tough time trying to figure out which team is actually going to win and who I'm going to mark my prediction with. But let's jump into the callers. Maybe they might help me out. See what's going on. Let's do it. All right. Here's the first one.
What's up, Manny, bro? It's Showman Boots, man.
What's going on, bro?
Calling in, man. I want to let everybody know Celtics in 7, man.
Ooh.
Steph ain't getting no finals MVP.
Ooh.
Mark my words.
Whoa. Hold on. Why'd you have to go to the Steph slander? That's my thing. Why did you have to go to the Steph slander? You did not have to do that part. You did not have. You could have left that part out. But you know what? And that just reminds me. I've been hearing Steph slander over and over and over again, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this Steph slander because I went over Memorial Day, went to get my hair cut. And people in there, you know, we kicking it, talking about the games, NBA Finals, and then all of a sudden I hear, is Steph really overrated, and Steph really not the guy who people think he like. What's up with all of this Steph slander? No. What's up with all of this Steph slander? Damn it! Like why? Why? What's going on? And I get it. You may want the Celtics to win. You may not even like the Warriors, but damn, do we gotta slander Steph in this? Like, this is the unanimous MVP. Come on now. Unanimous. Ain't nobody else did all of that. Ain't nobody else shooting like Steph out here. Come on now. And look, I'll put it this way. So you said Celtics in 7. And I agreed. I'm like, okay, well, maybe Celtics might win in 7. But the conversation since we've known who's going to go to the finals between the Celtics and the Warriors, ever since I've been hearing all this damn Steph slander, it just makes me sick, man. It's making me sick. Because Steph Curry ain't do nothing to nobody. Steph Curry does nothing but play basketball in the way that he's supposed to in his great system that Steve Kerr has with the Golden State Warriors. But yet all he does is get slandered for it. Steph don't show up for the finals. Steph ain't got no finals MVP. Steph is trash for real. He wouldn't be nothing without the Warriors. These are terrible things I'm hearing about the Stephen Curry and the slander. And we're not tolerating that no more. We're done tolerating Steph slander. No. We're done with Steph slander. I'm not having it at all. Now, back to what you were saying. So Celtics, you said Celtics in 7. That has to be no. And I started off chill. I was kind of chill. But you know what? I absolutely know my decision now. I think it's going to be a great series. This is going to be one of those series we have to take game by game, regardless of who you think is going to win. You may say the Celtics are going to take it in 7. You may say Golden State is taking it in 7. But either way, this is going to go game by game. When you look at the competition that both of these teams have played amongst the playoffs, one of these teams have played a bunch of subpar teams. When you look at the Warriors, they beat the Dallas Mavericks. They beat down on the Memphis Grizzlies, beat down on the Denver Nuggets. None of those teams are really elite when we talk about the playoffs. Especially, or when we talk about this season, I put it that way. They're not elite teams. They don't have multiple people you have to worry about. They all had one star, if that, and if they were even healthy. But as far as the Warriors, their journey was definitely easy getting to the finals. And that's ultimately what it's going to come down to, because now they have to play competition. This is their first real shot at playing distinct competition in the NBA playoffs for this season. You play the Memphis Grizzlies, yeah, it's tough, whatever. No Ja Morant. You play the Denver Nuggets, you got the MVP Nikola Jokic on there. And who is the Dallas Mavericks? You only got to worry about Luka Doncic. And let's be honest really quick, y'all. The only team who was really supposed to play the Warriors was the Phoenix Suns, but they wet the bed when they went against the Dallas Mavericks in Game 7. So as far as that, and then you transition over to the Boston Celtics, you look at their team, and this is kind of why I favor the Celtics in a second, but I'll get to my pick in just a second. This is why I favor the Celtics, because when you look at their journey and what they're doing, they've had a huge, tremendous, hard fought, like crazy type of journey that they had to play. They had to beat the Brooklyn Nets with KD and Kyrie, regardless of what you say and if they were ready to play or not. They still had to beat that team. They had to go play the Milwaukee Bucks with Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's never going to be easy to eliminate. And then you talk about, Chris Middleton was hurt. Don't be fooled. The Milwaukee Bucks still have a great team. They still had Drew Holiday sparking up. They still had Lopez hooping. They still had Portis. And not only do they have these key players, they have a system over there. People talk about, Giannis is this and that. But ultimately, the Milwaukee Bucks, they have a good team and they play good team ball. That's what makes them so valuable. And that's what makes them still great contenders, even though they lost Chris Middleton. And then now you look at Miami the other day, who they just had to, or the other week, who they just had to beat out. Miami, they won in game, or Celtics, they won in Game 7. But out of those 7 games, it was still a hard-fought game. And you can say what you want about the Miami Heat. Each one of these teams that the Celtics beat, when you look at the Miami Heat, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Brooklyn Nets, all of those teams are better than any of the teams the Warriors had to play this entire playoffs. If you put those teams in a series between the losers, I guarantee the Eastern Conference teams come out on top. So that's really what it's going to be. But to touch on it even more, to touch on this series even more for the finals and so on, it's going to be interesting because both of these teams, they have an advantage where the other team does not lack most, or where they're underestimated most, if that makes sense. And to further explain that, what I mean is the Boston Celtics, they're primarily a defensive team, but you can't discount their offensive ability, and you can't count them out on the offensive end. And for the Golden State Warriors, when you flip it around, they're primarily an offensive team, but you can't really count them out on the defensive end. So it's going to be tough to see which team really pulls it out. And if you ask me, I'm sick of the Steph slander. I'm sick of the Steph slander. So we're going with the Warriors in 7 games here. We're going with the Warriors in 7 games. I got Steph Curry finally getting his MVP, his finals MVP. I'm tired of hearing this Steph slander. As much as I want the Celtics to win, I can't. No. I need the Warriors to win this series because I'm sick of this Steph slander. I'm sick of it. We are really discounting greatness as Steph Curry is playing in the league right now, and I need Steph to go ahead and get this finals MVP. We're done talking about it. We're done with it, man. Celtics and Warriors, this is going to be a great series. Ultimately, it's going to be pound for pound, punch for punch, blow for blow, however you want to look at it. It's going to be a great series, but we got the Warriors coming out on top. They got the experience. They got it. They got the experience. And then you look at these other teams here, not many teams win on their first time going to the finals. So we definitely riding out with the Warriors. Let's do it. So we're going to jump into a quick break. We'll be right back. Now, you know, just because you're busy doesn't mean you got to be stressed. I'm crazy busy right there with you, but it can be easier. Next time you're on a run, just make it more fun and listen to The Run with Manny Wilson. Now tuned into the greatest.
The Run, Manny Wilson podcast. The best sports podcast there is.
Yes, sir. You heard it here first. The best sports podcast there is. And you know what, man? I didn't even mention after I said the Warriors in 7. I didn't even mention that the Golden State Warriors, they are 9-0 at home in the playoffs this year, and they host the Boston Celtics tonight. So that's going to be interesting to see if they can continue to keep this streak alive and so on. But some more news here for the run on June 2nd, 2022. Darvin Ham has become the Los Angeles Lakers' new head coach. And the Lakers, they are refusing to give up additional assets and plan to keep Russell Westbrook on the team. Now, look, man, I don't think it's going to work. I really don't. I don't think you can make anything work when you got Russell Westbrook, Bron, and AD. It's just three different guys who need the ball on offense. Neither one of those guys are going to play off ball and really be effective. So to me, I don't really think it's going to work. But hey, new head coach, he may implement a system that actually works for the Lakers. But it'll be interesting to see. The Lakers, they bring the pressure. So if he don't have some results in 2 years, they might be looking at another head coach, the way the Warriors roll. But yeah, man, to touch on it just a little bit more, man. A lot of people, they hate because they say, well, these system point guards, how good are they compared to these individual players? And I just have to break down this difference because a lot of people get it mixed up when they say, oh, well, a Steph is better than a Kyrie Irving because Steph has championships, or it may be vice versa, whereas like a Kyrie Irving is better because he has more skill than Steph. Be careful with those comparisons. This is all I'm going to say. Just be careful with those comparisons. I like both players. I have Kyrie Irving as my personal favorite, but if you put it on a Mount Rushmore, Stephen Curry is higher. He's just higher. Look at the way he plays within his system. And I say this because system point guards are different. System point guards win you championships. Freestyle point guards get you style points, and they get you fans in the seats. They get you endorsements and so on. When you look at the great list of players, just at every position, each player who always plays their distinct position and play their role on the team, they are the ones that's successful. You look at the Kobe's, you look at Dwayne Wade's, you look at the Allen Iversons, you look at the Stephon Marbury's, the Gilbert Arenases, all of those different guys at those skill positions, they're great. They're great. They're great as individuals, but some of them are not great teammates, and they're not good when you put them in a system. Because I tell you what, you take Kyrie Irving or you take Gilbert Arenas and you put them on the Golden State Warriors, the Warriors are not the same team. They're not the same team at all. But if you take Steph and you put him on a different team, he's still Steph, but he probably does not have all the championships that he have. That's the point of a system. That's the difference between a system point guard and just a freestyle point guard. When you're a freestyle point guard, you can do whatever the hell you want to because you have to. You look at Dame for an example. I think Dame is one of those players who can play both styles. He can play very versatile. If he really wanted to, he can come off the ball and make a couple threes because he has a lethal shot, I'm almost positive Dame could play versatile if he really needed to. He's probably the only other closest player who could play close to Steph in that Warriors system that I can think of. But because he's not in that distinct system and he's with an offense that has to be freestyle in a team where he doesn't really have any help, he has to just do it all, which is why we see the 50-point games more often. We see the 40 balls. We see the 50, sometimes 60 balls from Dame Lillard because he has to do it. If he's not doing that for that freestyle offense, we're not seeing them win anything. We're not seeing Portland even get to the playoffs and get those game-winning buzzer beaters that we see. None of those things are happening if he's not putting up those numbers. But when you're in an actual system, you look at any other point guard. Even I brought up Tony Parker earlier. Of course, I don't think he's better than Steph, but you look at Tony Parker. He had times playing with the Spurs in that great system where he would thrive. He'd put up 20-something point, a high 20-point game and 8 assists. He had his great games and his great share of games. But if you send Tony Parker somewhere else, ain't no way in hell he's doing that. And this is not just for the point guard position, as a matter of fact. This is for other positions. Even Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, LeBron. When you see those guys, they all have a distinct system that they played in when they won their championships. Even centers, you look at Shaq, Akeem, Dwight Howard, all of these other guys, they had distinct systems on the offensive end that helped them get to where they were. That's the key difference when you talk about a system point guard and a freestyle point guard. And ultimately, when you look at who's on this Mount Rushmore, Because you can say Magic, Isaiah, you can say all of these other guys for this Mount Rushmore, but ultimately it comes down to what you base it upon. If you're talking about straight skill, then of course you might look at Kyrie Irving as the best. I personally do when you talk about straight skill that's coming to the game of basketball in terms of point guards. At least for point guards. When you talk about straight skill, and it's different for every position. It's different for every position. When you talk about straight skill, you can pick out a particular shooting guard based on straight skill. You can pick out a particular power forward based on skill, a particular small forward based on skill, all of that. When you base things upon skill, you're going to be looking at a completely different Mount Rushmore. But if you're going based upon who's most valuable to their team and who can bring the most to their team and the system, who can adapt better and who can be more versatile when playing for a particular team, that's a completely different story. Completely different story. Because now you're not basing it on who can shoot better, who can dribble better, who can do this better. You're basing it on how can he adapt? Does he have the IQ to be able to adapt? Does he have the IQ to be able to make the right plays when he has this guy on the floor? When he doesn't have this guy on the floor, can he make the right plays? It's a different type of ball game when you base these things on system point guards and freestyle point guards, but not even point guards, freestyle players or system players. It's two completely different things. So be careful when you're out there debating. Don't get caught up in too much. I did it. It happened to me, man. I was at the barbershop just debating. And I'm like, look, man, we on completely two different pages. I'm like, are you talking about his skill set or are you talking about just his ability to play? Don't get me wrong. Some people may be ignorant. They may just be like, overall, he's better. And they may throw a damn Tony Parker over Steph Curry, which is just, I still can't believe it. But no, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for sticking with me. If you've been hanging with me for this long, definitely tap in. You guys got to give the number a call as well. Go ahead, especially if you've been hanging with me for this long. You got to make sure your voice is heard on the show. Even if you just call in to say what's up, man, it don't even matter. I'm going to respond. All of that. You can say, what's up, man? I like the show, or what's up, Manny? I hate the show. Either one is cool. Just give us a call at 219-413-9405. Leave your voicemail, drop your name, and we'll be right there with you. But no, man, I appreciate you for hanging with me. Be sure to follow me on Instagram as well at The Run Podcast, and my personal at I am Manny Wilson. We give you all the after game takes and so on. But we'll be back next week, and so on and so on and so on.